Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Outlook and discussion for August the 5th, 2015. Taking a look at the Western Hemisphere, the Atlantic Basin pretty much closed for business right now, down in the deep tropics especially, and even up here in the subtropics. No areas of concern whatsoever. A few areas of convection trying to fester in the eastern Pacific. If we look at a different perspective of the Atlantic, including all the way out across Africa, a lot of convective activity around the equator and points north, what we call the intertropical convergence zone through here. Fairly active as the upward motion is focused over this area, but then we have this sort of sinking regime going on in the Atlantic Basin. I can show you that on this chart. Here is North America. There's the Carolinas, Florida, Central America down here, South America. Trying to outline so you see what's what. This is the west coast of Africa. All right, you got your bearings there. And then look at all this brown. That is sinking motion. So basically we can just kind of draw a box in here and put an X in it. No development when you have that, or at least it's very difficult. You never say never, but it's very difficult to have development. And then over here off the coast of Africa, including the western part of the continent itself, pretty decent area of rising motion, and we're seeing these robust tropical waves come off. See how that works very nicely. Upward motion here, sinking motion here, so we put an X out here. Nothing going to develop, at least very little chance of that while that's going on. And the MJO index also helps to paint the picture of what's happening. Any upward motion of significance is over in the western Pacific, and even it is not very amplified right now, and the forecast indicating basically the MJO staying in what we call the null phase. In other words, there won't be any wide-scale, large areas of upward motion occurring anytime over the next couple of weeks. The global forecast system, the American-generated model, and its ensemble members kind of saying, well, maybe a little bit of an amplification here into phases 1 and 2, which would be favorable for development in the Atlantic, but I think it might be a little enthusiastic about that beyond its means, if you will. The climate forecast system, also an American-generated model product, indicating over the next 40 days, each one of these represents 5-day time frames. This is the current analysis right here with the green over Africa that I showed you, and the brown over the Atlantic Basin, and then the green upward motion region where the once super typhoon Soledor, or however you say it, is located. Now over the next 40 days, this goes out 40 days, pretty nasty conditions in the Atlantic for development, and then going out to about day 10, this is day 5 up here, and then day 10, day 15, day 20, maybe somewhere in this time frame, a little bit of a relaxation of the sinking, crushing hand, if you will, suppressing tropical development in the Atlantic Basin, whereas the eastern Pacific here looks like it could really come to life over the next several weeks, as indicated by the CFS. But we'll see. Like I said here, the Euro over the next 2 weeks, going out to August 19th right there, showing none of the sort. All right, so we'll just have to watch and wait and see. The bottom line for any interest in the Atlantic Basin, no worries whatsoever. Neither is there really any concern for Hawaii here, with Tropical Storm Guillermo going to go well to the north of the Hawaiian Islands. And look at it. It's being sheared apart, pulled like cotton candy, stretched out by a child at the carnival. You've seen that, where you get the cotton candy and you just pull it apart, or you take a cotton ball and stretch it apart, and it dissolves into the little filaments and whatever. Well, that's basically what happened here with Guillermo, as very strong upper-level winds came across and literally blew those thunderstorms away from the low-level center. And here's the forecast track taking it well to the north of the Hawaiian Islands, and it'll dissipate over cooler water and a more stable air mass with time. Out in the western Pacific, Typhoon Soledor, or however you say it, Typhoon S, very large circulation with it, moving over a little bit cooler water than it had yesterday when it was at super typhoon intensity. Basically a classification saying that it was, category 4 or 5 intensity, way up there. What we know on the Saffir-Simpson scale, they refer to it as a super typhoon, now down, quote unquote, to just a regular typhoon, still very powerful and a very, very large circulation. The different forecast agencies coming to a pretty good consensus that this is going to track generally west-northwest towards Taiwan, maybe going right across the center of the island here, and then a final landfall along the east coast of China, well north of Hong Kong, fortunately for them. Unfortunately for Taiwan, this is going to be a rather devastating event, with the wind being a big problem, of course. And we look up here that the forecast from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, taking this back up to 120 knots, real close to landfall there. And that's, about 140 mile per hour hurricane, or typhoon in this case. And that's nothing to take lightly. They have some very tall buildings. One of the tallest in the world is in Taiwan. Densely populated area. There are mountains here. So the flooding and the landslide issues, rock slides, especially rock slides, going to be a big problem. So who can we trust for pertinent, valuable information from where this is happening? I'll tell you, a couple of guys that I follow. James Reynolds, right here, Earth Uncut TV on Twitter. Check that out. He's going to be there if he's not already. I think he's already there. At Earth Uncut TV. Just look up that name there, James Reynolds. And if you, as you see here, he is on site. He's already in Taipei now. He likes the Morning Post the other day from China. Yeah, he's in position, as is Josh Morgerman. This guy, he's got some serious nerves. I tell you, this is the eye of Hurricane Odile, and Josh was sitting right here. And follow him. He's going to be in Taiwan as well if he's not already there. You see right here on his Twitter page, he's got the Odile encounter pinned on his Twitter homepage. I Cyclone, lowercase I Cyclone, Josh Morgerman on site in Taiwan. And these guys are going to give you what it's really like. There's not going to be any dramatics, no BS, no overblown, ridiculous reports. It is what it is, because these guys respect what's happening, and they respect the science, and they respect the art of sort of freelance man versus nature journalism. And for them, nature is the dramatics, and they will do a stellar job. So I recommend you follow James Reynolds and Josh Morgerman on Twitter if you're interested in what's happening with this typhoon as it bears down on Taiwan. So there you have it. All right? Things are nice and quiet in the Atlantic. We'll watch what's happening with Typhoon Soledor, however you say it. I have actually tried to find the pronunciation guide for West Pacific typhoons, and I can't find one. So I apologize if I have it completely wrong. I do not have cable television, so I haven't seen anybody on television. I just don't have time to watch cable TV. I have internet, of course, and I just haven't seen anybody pronounce it. So we'll see. Anyhow, I'm rambling. I'm going to shut up for today. That is the update for the 5th of August. Thanks for tuning in as always. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. I'll be back tomorrow with more on that typhoon as it heads towards Taiwan.